Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to tonight's St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Assembly guest speaker presentation. Tonight it is with great honor that I'd like to present to everybody Mr. Bill Williams from Patriotic Productions. Mr. Bill Williams and his wife Yvonne Williams are the co-founders of Patriotic Productions and its mission that include remembering our fallen. They were the volunteer organizers behind multiple honor flights that took over 3,500 of our veterans to their memorials in Washington, D.C. Bill graduated from Dakota State College before spending most of his career in sales. Yvonne graduated from Bellevue University and worked previously as the executive director of Make-A-Wish Foundation of Nebraska for 16 years. She also served as interim executive director of the Strategic Air and Space Museum before leaving to start Patriotic Productions with Bill. Patriotic Productions is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded by Bill and Yvonne Williams of Omaha, Nebraska, who have a desire to honor the United States military and share that opportunity with others who wish to do the same. Patriotic Productions has organized and raised funds that have taken over 3,500 World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans to see their memorials in Washington, D.C. from 2008 to 2019. The flight spurred an interest in creating more events and opportunities to honor our country's veterans and their families, as did the Williamses' 4 sons who have changed their family's legacy to that of one serving in the military. Bill and Yvonne are not veterans, nor do they come from military families, but their 4 sons have all volunteered to serve our country. 2 United States Army and 2 United States Marines. The Williamses were inspired to create Remembering Our Fallen in the fall of 2010. Their eternal hope is to honor the memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice, to provide comfort to friends and family of the fallen, and to remind others of the tremendous cost paid by some. Its legacy will be that these men and women will never be forgotten and that their names will be remembered. The inspiration from this project came after reading a story in the Omaha World Herald about a father whose pain and grief were even greater 4 years after his son, Sergeant Joshua Ford, died in Iraq. Why? Because he felt his son had been forgotten and the war was not even over yet. To that end, Bill and Yvonne decided to do something about it. In November of 2010, with the backing of the Omaha World Herald newspaper and the financial support of several sponsors, including Bellevue University, Bill and Yvonne created a traveling photo memorial called Remembering Our Fallen. This memorial included photos of the fallen who had died in the War on Terror since September 11th, 2001, and called Nebraska home. Over the next few years, they decided to create memorials for other states as well. After completing 19 state memorials, the focus shifted to a national memorial that encompasses the fallen from across the country. This national memorial was unveiled in September 2017 at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and continues to tour the nation, giving Americans across the country the opportunity to honor our fallen. And so it is, without further ado, I would like to present to all of those present, Mr. Bill Williams of Patriotic Productions.
Thank you, Juan. Pleased to be here. Thanks for the introduction. Let me touch on the nonprofit that we started 10 years ago, Patriotic Productions. We quit our jobs and formed the nonprofit. I'll touch on the honor flights a bit. We had the pleasure, the honor of, as Juan said, 3,500 Nebraska veterans to Washington, D.C. We're about as far west as you can be in Omaha, Nebraska, to be able to go out and back in the same day. And we had 7 World War II flights. We had 2 for Korea veterans, 2 for Vietnam. We did an all-female flight about 3 years ago. That was interesting. We had female pilots, female flight attendants. All the veterans were female. The oldest was 98, the youngest 27. We had all the guardians, the helpers on board were female, and all the media on board. So the sign over the door said, "No boys allowed." The special guest at the pre-flight dinner the night before and on the flight was Loretta Swit. Most of you will remember her as Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH. So she spent the day with all the entourage in Washington, D.C. Our final flight was a couple of years ago. We did Purple Heart recipients from Iraq and Afghanistan. We also took the young widows and the children of the fallen from Iraq and Afghanistan. People often ask us what were our favorite flights. Well, it's a bit hard to say, but the flights with the most therapeutic value were undoubtedly the Vietnam flights. The first Vietnam flight we did was D-Day, June 6, 2016. 3 planes designated red, white, and blue, 510 all combat veterans. It was the largest group of Vietnam vets from one state to ever visit the wall in DC. Lifted off about 6 a.m. out to DC through the day, came back, landed at the Omaha airport. There were 5,000 people there to cheer. We followed that one with May 1st of 2017, 4 planes designated red, white, blue, and Uncle Sam 2. And that was 653 Vietnam veterans. Off we went, and we landed the plane back in Omaha, and there were 7,000 people there with the bands playing and all the family members and citizens and signs. And a few months, here's one example of the effect. A few months after his flight, a veteran showed up at our house. He said, "I want to tell you something." He said, "I've had nightmares for 45 years, sleeping 2-3 hours a night." He said, "Ever since we got back and all those people were at the airport," he said, "I sleep 8 hours a night. I wake up refreshed. I'm a new man." And it's quite often we get stopped by the veteran himself or his spouse, children, grandchildren, talking about the change in him because of all that reception upon coming back. So just people showing interest and expressing their gratitude has made such a huge difference. And so doing the honor flights was a wonderful experience for us. I'll touch on remembering our fallen in just a minute, but some other things that we've been involved in. We organized 2 Back the Blue events here in Omaha to show support for law enforcement. Clear-thinking Americans understand our main defense against anarchy is law enforcement. It's not too hard to figure out, is it? So we had 1,000 or more people each time come to the event. We had various speakers, a diverse speaker group, police officers, retired high school principal. So it was a good opportunity for people to come out to show support for law enforcement. Our second one, we had Lee Greenwood come, and that was a treat. We had Lee come again last Memorial Day weekend. We organized the Patriotic Parade and concert in downtown Omaha. As we all noticed, most of the national media narrative is America is this horrible, awful, racist, why would anybody want to live here country? Well, most of us live in Realville, and in Realville, we know how lucky we are to live here. And most Americans treat people the way they want to be treated. So we put on this event, and we had over 5,000 people on the street for the parade. Weather was terrible for Memorial Day weekend, windy, cold, but they still came out with their flags. And we had Lee Greenwood come again, and we had the Budweiser Clydesdales. We had 200 Gold Star family members come from 10 states. And we had about 65 entries, so pretty good for our first time out. And so we're going to do it again this coming Memorial Day weekend. We're adding a balloon glow on the Friday night of May 27th. We booked the world's largest American flag hot air balloon from Pennsylvania. It's 7 stories high. And that morning, weather permitting, it'll float over Omaha to promote this event. And then we also have the Fort Riley Mounted Patrol will perform on the Friday night. We also have the United States Army Fife and Drum Corps. And then on Saturday morning is the parade, and we have the Marine Corps band coming from Cherry Point, North Carolina. And we hope to double that number of Gold Star family members from 200 to 400. So that's our mission, is to make it bigger and better and to promote patriotism and to have people have the opportunity to come out and show their love for their country, which is the way most of us feel about it. So as Juan said, the Remembering Our Fallen started 10 years ago. The Omaha World Herald did a story about a father who had lost his son in Iraq and his concern he would be forgotten. So we read the story. We came up with the idea to create an exhibit. We didn't want it to sit in a museum somewhere. We wanted it to travel from town to town. So we created the Nebraska Remembering Our Fallen exhibit, pictures of Nebraska's native sons and daughters lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's 40 feet long. It's 3 pop-up frames. And until COVID hit, the Nebraska exhibit had been booked every week, not a week off, since January 2nd of 2011, all over the state. It's been seen by thousands. We went ahead and created 18 more states till we got to California, and California has lost the most. They've lost 710 native sons and daughters. So to put that in perspective, the Nebraska exhibit is 40 feet long, so is Iowa, Kansas, South Carolina, Alabama. California's, because of their huge losses, is 240 feet long. We unveiled it several years ago at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, and it encircled the whole hangar where they have Air Force One. Those of you that have been there, you know how big that room is at the Reagan Library. Texas has lost 600. It's our exhibit for Texas is 200 feet long. New York's big, Florida's big. So therein was the problem, because it was becoming difficult to find indoor space for these state-specific exhibits because they can't go outside. The wind will knock over the frames. So that's when we changed our emphasis to creating the National Remembering Our Fallen tribute towers. And it's the only memorial like it in the country. A lot of folks think about the traveling Vietnam walls. There are 4 of them that have been traveling the country for years. And obviously the difference is our memorial is current and it's pictures. Those of you that have seen the pictures of it, it was Yvonne's idea to not only ask the families for the military photo, but what is so heartbreaking is the personal picture. They send an inset picture. Could be anything from him holding his own baby, or him at the county fair when he was 7, or her the first day of school. I mean, it's brutal to see the pictures sent by the families, but it also adds personality to that person. So there are 34 towers, and they can go indoors or outdoors, and that's obviously the advantage. They can be outside. They're based on the basketball hoop in the driveway, in that once the tower is set up, then a fire truck usually is the fastest, or a water truck. When it was at Army Navy, it took the fire department in Philly about 25 minutes to put the hose in each of the 34 bases to fill them full of water, about 33 gallons each, and that's what gives them the stability to be outside. We also have separate towers for suicide and training accidents. So as I say, there's no other memorial like it in the country. Yvonne got these pictures from the family, one family after another. Every so often, somebody will say, well, did the government give you all these pictures? Oh, no, it was hundreds and hundreds of hours by her to research, to track down the families, because it's kind of Columbo work, so to speak, in that if the young widow was widowed 10 years ago and now she's remarried on the other side of the country under a different name, it takes a lot of work to track her down to get those photos so we can add her loved one to the memorial. So we unveiled September of 2017 at the Lincoln Memorial. We had about 1,000 Gold Star families come from all over the country. Few of the highlights on the tour: New York City for Veterans Day week, Reagan Library, had it out there, Pasadena twice for Rose Bowl week, outside football stadiums, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Nebraska, Kansas, the New England Patriots last November. Let me think, Army, Navy, we had just this past weekend, it was in Waco, Texas for Baylor, Oklahoma. And let's see, Pentagon, the Marine Corps Museum. Thanks to Governor Ricketts, it was outside of Wrigley Field, I guess about 3 years ago or so. It's been to Sturgis twice. And let me think, Shanksville, Stoystown, around 9/11 in Pennsylvania, the site of Flight 93. So we've created a second version, exactly the same. One travels west of the Mississippi River and one travels east. And they travel on 48-foot trailers that are wrapped. Usually when it arrives, there's a motorcycle escort, which obviously brings out the media. And then a dozen or so folks by the local host will help set it up and then take it down at the end, back onto the trailer and back on the road. So that's what we do. That's our mission, is that the biggest fear for Gold Star families is their loved one is going to be forgotten. Well, that's what our mission is, that they not be forgotten. And after the recent heartbreaking situation in Afghanistan, there is a renewed interest in honoring these men and women who paid the ultimate in Afghanistan and Iraq. One of the 13 Marines that was killed on the exit, if you can call it that, was from Omaha. And when his body came back, it was unbelievable. I mean, the crowd, thousands of people lined the streets from the airport to the funeral home. I mean, it's been, I think the last time anything was like it in Omaha was when a Omaha police officer was killed in the line of duty. So it shows you that there's a lot of wonderful Americans out there. They want to show support for the military and to do something. And they certainly did in the case of Corporal Page, his return to Omaha. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep at it, keep booking the memorials to travel the country so that they won't be forgotten.
Thank you so very much, Bill. Wonderful presentation. At this moment now, the forum is open for anybody who has any questions or comments for Bill. Would anybody like to ask a question for Bill? How about on Zoom? Does anybody have any questions for Bill? Feel free to unmute if you do.
Question, how long do they stay? I don't know if you could hear me. How long do they stay at the site?
How long do they stay in the site? Usually it's 3 or 4 days, just depends on what kind of event you may have. It can extend out if need be, that's fine. We have the person who handles East was in the Marine Corps. And so he's very great to work with, very dedicated to this, the miles that he has traveled driving all over. He was just in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was in New Jersey before that. And he finally arrived back home here just this afternoon. The other version is handled by a Gold Star mother and her fiance, who drives the truck and the trailer. She lost her son. He was a West Point graduate, and she lost her son when he was taken prisoner in Iraq and murdered. And so the two of them have been traveling since 2017, and the places they have been and the Gold Star families and the public they have met has just been a lifelong bunch of memories for them, all the people that all the lives they have touched. So it's pretty. I know you guys are going to book it, and we thank you for that. I think you'll be very touched when you see people come, particularly Gold Star family members that haven't seen it, and to walk them up to the tower with their loved one's picture is quite an experience. So.
Thank you, Bill. Does anybody else have any questions for Bill?
One right here. Ed, go ahead, Ed.
I'll mute myself. So do you have an address or something that you can send to us as far as how do we contribute to your cause?
Yeah, Juan has all that information, and he has we received the agreement back for the booking. Those dates, I think, Juan, wasn't it May 12th through the 15th?
That is correct, Bill. Yes.
Okay. Did any other groups show any interest? Did you hear anybody else?
Our committee chairman, who is the master of the Illinois district, he is working with his colleague in Southern Illinois around Springfield to get another booking over in that area.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Bill? Does anybody on Zoom have any questions or comments for Bill? Well, Bill, with your permission, if I may ask a humble question. My question is, this inspired you and your wife from the tragic stories about the fear of loved ones that they're fallen may be forgotten. May I ask, what does Patriotic Productions have in mind in the future? Do you have any other memorials or plans for anything else that your great organization, your charity is thinking about doing in the future?
No, I think we're going to concentrate on booking the Remembering Our Fallen to get the word out, because most people don't know about it. I mean, as everybody knows, the Vietnam Walls have been traveling for so long that almost everybody's aware of them. And so having a memorial honoring the fallen from the war on terror since 9/11, that's what our objective is to spread the word, so people, if they're interested, they'd book it and bring it into their community. The thing about the fallen from Iraq and Afghanistan is it's not World War II where everybody was in the game, right? With victory gardens or scrap metal drives. Less than 1% serve in the military, so it didn't affect people like World War II did in every home. So that small segment of the country who steps up to serve their country, as groups like yours do, you honor them for serving America and protecting the rest of us. And those who paid the ultimate, well, we all need to take a minute to walk among those towers, to see the faces, to thank them for their sacrifice.
Thank you, Bill. Does anybody else have any questions? We have one here at the hall, Sir Knight Tom Hendrick, go ahead.
I
don't know if you
Is
can hear me or not, but my.
Cable Navigator. As far as this monument, do you have any idea where these monuments are going to be displayed for people to visit them?
Yes, I'm happy to answer that question for you, Sir Knight Thomas Kelly. We have secured North School Park in Arlington Heights on May 12th through the 15th. That's a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. I worked with Mr. Greg Padovani, who is the chairman of the Veterans Network Committee here in Arlington Heights, and with the Arlington Heights Park District, and they have approved our application to use North School Park where these towers will be located on those dates. This is free and open to the entire public. So as Bill was mentioning, we strongly encourage, welcome, and invite everybody, to come and see these incredible towers. It's very sombering and touches the heart, to really be able to pay our respects and reflect on the so many lives that have given everything in defense of our nation, our republic, and our democratic values.
Well, thank you very much. It'd be nice to have some additional advertising, so to speak, prior to the opening so that more people would be aware of it and could visit it when it's here.
I agree. We have already created a flyer, and we will make sure that our committee will be marketing it like crazy.
Now, school, Juan, will still be in session then, will it not?
Yes, but there will be the weekend, so that will be a great opportunity for families and children to be able to come to the park and be able to visit this memorial. So everybody.
It's always good for students to see it. So hopefully there can be some school groups that'll be brought in or have the opportunity to see it too.
Thank you, Bill. We will work on that. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments for Bill? Yes, there is one here at the hall.
Hi, Bill. My name is Tom Hedrick. My son-in-law was killed in Afghanistan in 2010. What kind of information or pictures or memorabilia are you looking for?
You can look on our website on remembering, rememberingourfallen.org, and you can see the form that can be filled out and then the pictures. You want obviously the highest resolution of the two photos you send, one military and the hard part is to pick the personal picture. Just a second.
I'm having a hard time picturing what a tower is. I'm just asking what a tower is. I'm having a hard time with a mental picture of what a tower is.
The tower is 10 foot tall, 6 feet in circumference, and there's 3 banners on there. You can see it from the website, and there's pictures on both sides of the banners. And then they set up in a footprint of either as a group or they can be put in a string of pearls, which is about 300 feet if you put them in a line. It's about 3/4 the size of a basketball court when you set them up in a plot. It can go in any configuration. You want them about 10 feet apart from each other so that visitors can walk around each of the towers to see the pictures on the banners that are on both sides of each banner.
Does anybody else have any final questions or comments for Bill at this time? If there aren't any more, then this concludes our St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Assembly guest speaker presentation. On behalf of all of us, thank you so very much, Bill. and also to your wife Yvonne, and to the entire Patriotic Productions charity organization for all that you do in service to our veterans and to our fallen. May you always continue to be successful and blessed in your endeavors. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. One last applause.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bill.